Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Bugrock of the Week episode. Today I'll be showing you a very good bug that you should definitely try out in your Minecraft worlds and experiment with a little bit because it's honestly extremely useful and totally insane. And as far as I'm aware, this is the first time that we've ever had wireless redstone on the Bedrock Edition of Minecraft. There is basically limitless possibilities for the things that you can do with this wireless redstone. It is honestly really cool. So let's check it out real quick. As you can see, we can just kind of, rotate this item in the item frame and that will activate that piston right there. We can also flick these trapdoors up and down to activate that piston completely wirelessly as well. As you can see, we can also flick up these ones over here, and that's pretty cool. We can also have multiple of these things in one area, as you can see here. So this one right here activates that one. This one over here activates the upper right. This one over here activates the upper left. And this one over here activates this little bit of a system right there. So this wireless redstone is pretty awesome. However, it does have a couple of issues that I'll be talking about throughout this video. And there's also a couple of flaws with this as well. So you shouldn't really be building the systems that I show you in this video in your worlds. However, I would recommend that you play around with this entire mechanic and just see if you can figure anything out. Hopefully, as a general technical community, we can figure out how to refine this wireless redstone, and I'll definitely be making some more videos on this, and hopefully we can get it perfectly refined and not have any issues or any flaws or anything like that. But even in its current state, even with a couple extra bugs and flaws that it does have, it still works and it's still really cool. So credit where credit is due. Of course, I did not discover this wireless redstone. Milo the iguana actually sent this over to me on Twitter. They were doing a bunch of different testing with observers and redstone. Turns out these things got about 1,000 different bugs. Who would have guessed? But in all of their testing, they actually discovered this amazing new little mechanic that we can totally have a bunch of fun with. So thank you very much, Milo. I don't think anyone else would have ever discovered this simply because it is just so weird and so very broken. And it's just so weird. Let's see how it actually works, shall we? All right, so let's set up this wireless redstone, shall we? It's actually fairly straightforward. We're just gonna start off with like a stair or really anything that you can waterlog and then surround that by some trapdoors and just go ahead and put a water bucket in that stair. Doesn't really need to be a stair. Again, anything that you can waterlog. And now we're gonna set up a little bit of an observer clock, just two observers facing into each other. We're going to put some redstone dust on the sides of these guys so we can see them actually firing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to completely break this redstone clock. As you guys know, observers are generally pretty unreliable in general. However, we basically want them to break for this. So all you really need to do is basically flip these trapdoors like maybe 20 times in quick succession. And as you can see, these observers are now permanently powering their output. So this is the entire basis of this wireless redstone right here. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. As you can see, two completely unrelated things are now tied together. We can go ahead and put a piston on either one of these and then I can explain a little bit better of how this works. So every time that we activate or update this waterlogged block right here, that is going to activate one of our observers or basically make it turn off this redstone dust and then turn it back on. So kind of the reverse of how they operate in normal operations. So if we go ahead and flick this one, you can see that those pistons kind of flip and flop back and forth, which is kind of interesting. Now, you don't need to update these things with just trapdoors. You can update them with literally any form of block, such as even an item frame. We can put that in there. As you can see, those pistons over there are still activating, which is kind of mysterious. I have no idea how the water being updated is affecting the observers. However, it's still a pretty cool thing to see. Now, one of the great things about this is you're not limited to just a single input. However, you can have basically as many inputs as possible. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get ourselves a little bit of a new water source right here. So boom, just a water source. Sometimes placing another water source can break your observer clock, in which case you just need to update a water source again using some trapdoors. But by placing that, as you can see, we're now updating our observer clock yet again. And I'm pretty sure we can even do that with item frames too inside of the water. Maybe not. Slightly mysterious. Not sure why that wouldn't work, but okay. But yeah, super strange. Honestly, literally no clue how the water affects the observers, but I'm guessing it's probably because Bedrock. So this is basically just a convoluted bud or block update detector. As you can see, we can place a torch. This is a waterlogged stair right here, and that will basically activate our system over there. Normally, you cannot really detect these things unless you have quasi connectivity, but this bug actually, makes it so we don't need quasi, which is really, really cool. So there's a couple ways that these observers can actually become like a clock again, and that has to do with, directly powering a redstone. As you can see, just from placing that dropper and it getting an update, that is actually going to turn this back into a normal clock. However, we can actually work around this issue fairly easily. So there we go, that system is now broken again. We basically just need to have the system that you want to activate in another chunk. So this is a chunk boundary right here. This dropper is in a different chunk than our actual redstone system. So what we're gonna do is now flick that, and as you can see, we can activate that dropper just fine. It can spit out all the items that it likes, and it's not going to break our observer clock. So let's check this out in a little bit more detail. So right now I have a resource pack on that shows the chunk borders throughout the world in these red and blue lines, and it shows sub chunk borders in these green lines in case you are curious. But the limitations of the system, or at least the main limitation, is that the water sources that you will be updating, they have to be in the same chunk as your observer clock, which is going to be the output for your system. So your input has to be in the same chunk as your output, more or less. If we update any of the water sources in this entire chunk from bedrock to world height, then this observer clock will send a pulse through our system and give us an output in the form of our piston right there. So as you can see, that is kind of straightforward, and this is also how we're able to have 4 of these things in a really close proximity. Each one of these things is their own isolated system and their own chunk. We can update any of the other water sources in the entire world, and it won't affect these guys as long as we don't update the water sources in their own chunks. So as you can see, this system still works perfectly fine, even though we have them all super close together. So pretty straightforward there, and that is kind of the main limitation of the system. So just to demonstrate that this system works from bedrock to world height, or pretty much any height in the entire world, we can just flick this item frame real quick and we will get ourselves a little bit of an activation from the sky up there. Just give it a minute. Wait for it, there it is, it's over here. And it is, of course, a subscribe pie. You should definitely subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this in the future. There is my one shameless promotion for this video. And yeah, as you can see, we just have a little bit of a system up there at world height that is activating a couple of droppers. Now, of course, these droppers are in a different chunk than our actual observer clock, or it's not really an observer clock, is it, anymore? Anyway, they're in a different chunk than this observer system, just so that they don't actually break the system like they normally would, and there goes all my pie. So how exactly do we get around this one chunk limitation? Well, it's actually not that big of a deal. We just kind of chain a bunch of these systems together. So as you can see, this is going to be the input to our system, and that over there is, of course, going to be the output. So pretty straightforward, and I really just love seeing this arrow get churned and those lights over there light up. That's just like super cool. Insane, and I just love it. Wireless redstone is super cool. But basically what we're doing is we're activating the original water source right here, which then gives a signal through our observer clock over here, which then activates another 2 water sources, and that causes this observer clock to update, causing 2 more water sources to update, and so on and so forth until we get to the final observer clock, which will then activate the redstone that is across yet another chunk boundary, so that this redstone updating doesn't break our observer clock and make it go off like a maniac. So yeah, overall pretty straightforward. We do need the 2 different water sources because these things alternate in which one gets activated every time. So just by updating 2, you make sure that both of these, or at least one, will always get an update. So pretty straightforward there. So like I said at the beginning of the video, there are a couple of flaws and additional bugs that do hurt this wireless redstone. However, if we can figure these things out and get a truly flawless wireless redstone on the Bedrock Edition, that would be absolutely amazing. So the main issue is that whenever you leave the game or unload these chunks, these observers are both going to fire, and we can see that they will push up those glass blocks right there. So all we need to do is reload the world, and we will see that both of these have extended upwards. Clearly a little bit of an issue that is going to activate whatever redstone system you have your wireless redstone going into. So what we need to figure out is some sort of logic gate that makes it so that if both of these redstone torches or both of these observers give an output, then neither of them actually send a signal through the system. It should only ever send a signal if one of them activates at a time, not if both. So that is kind of an issue. I am not really like a logic gate kind of person. I don't know how those things work. So if someone could figure that out, that would be super helpful. So there's also another way to actually break these redstone clocks, and that is just by having a flowing water source in the area. As you can see, that kind of broke the system a little bit. Although typically it completely breaks the system so that it just like permanently updates. I'm not really sure what's up with it. Again, this entire wireless redstone is a bug, so there's bound to be some weird behavior here and there. However, it's still really cool for activating literally anything in the entire game. This is like the absolute best kind of, activation for a hidden entrance or a hidden piston door, activating a farm from afar, or doing literally whatever you want. Again, the possibilities are absolutely endless when it comes to using wireless redstone, especially with the vertical limitations that we do not have, because you can use it with any vertical height. So this bug also explains why redstone doesn't really work that well in ocean biomes, simply because observers are clearly very affected by updates to water sources. So, living in an ocean biome or trying to do redstone in a biome completely made of water clearly isn't really going to help out your case too much. We can make ourselves a new observer clock down here at the bottom, and you'll see that this thing will be really slow, kind of inconsistent, and kind of just like chuggy. I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, it's not very consistent. So that does explain why redstone doesn't agree with these ocean biomes. Something about water is very connected to redstone in some form of strange, weird way. And there you have it, everything that I know about the wireless redstone on the Bedrock Edition at the moment. Of course, again, thank you to Milo the Iguana for sending this amazing discovery and breakthrough my way. Very, very much appreciated, man. That was awesome of you. And yeah, just thank you in general. Also, everyone watching this video, definitely try out this in your worlds and just, experiment with it. See if you can figure anything out. I haven't had the most time to mess with it. However, if we can work together to refine this, we can have some seriously amazing technology coming out with wireless redstone. I'm definitely going to be using this on Truly Bedrock and definitely going to be making some more videos on this as well. And if you do figure anything out, if you have any more breakthroughs, or if you just find any discoveries about wireless redstone, definitely send it my way in the comment section on Discord or on Twitter, whatever you feel like doing. But yeah, that's basically it for this video. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like. It helps out the video and the channel significantly. If you're new here, be sure to eat up, subscribe, pie. We would love to have you join our community, and I will see you all down in the comment section and in the next one. Thank you again for watching, and then there was silence.